Well, hello and welcome back to the Albanach knitter for this little extra stitch. Just a little catch up in life, in between the main episodes. That's what I tend to do, especially when life gets frantic or busy, or like in the last few weeks when I've had, colds and coughs and goodness knows what. It's good to catch up with you again. Here we are, end of November. It's December on Sunday. Can you actually believe it? I don't know if I can. But nevertheless, there it is. And I just thought before the busyness of December gets going, I would just pop in and say a quick hello, just to catch up. And in the midst of this season, just to take a little pause, to do a little bit of knitting and to catch up with you, who are an absolute joy. I love all your interactions on my videos and the messages over on Instagram, and your support is muchly appreciated. English language isn't my strong point at the best of times, but there we are. Never mind. Anyway, how are you doing? I say I'm doing okay. I've had various coughs and colds and various medication changes that have been a bit ropey and all that sort of thing, but I'm okay. And here I am, still knitting on the red cedar sweater, which is a sweater that I've been knitting for Mrs. Clark for, I think, the best part of 9 months, although I've done other things in the process of this. I've been knitting beanies. That's about it. Otherwise, knitting fairly monogamously on this. And you all know that I can't say that word, and I don't know why I keep trying it. But I've been knitting fairly consistently on this, and we are making good progress. And if you follow me over on Instagram, and if you don't, by the way, I'll place the thingy-majig, the handle on there, so that you can go over there and follow me, because that's where we can have some day-to-day banter. I occasionally post a few pictures on there. As you will have seen if you are following me over there, I am now at the stage where I've finished the body. I have done one of the sleeves, and I am about 1/3 of the way down the next sleeve. So there is good progress being made on this, and I'm relatively encouraged, because actually the length of time it took to do the last sleeve, it wasn't really that long at all. It was done before I knew it. So this sweater, at long last, is showing good signs of being completed. And when I've just finished this little row here, I will show you where I have got to so far. I would say on the whole, this has been a really enjoyable knit, because it's had that mix of interest with the colour work, which admittedly was all towards the beginning of the knit. But it was an interesting knit. But the kind of knit you can only do when you're putting all your focus on it. It's not very good for knit group and all that sort of thing, or necessarily tele-knitting. And as I've mentioned, there are a few mistakes that I'll have to go back and sort of duplicate stitch. But the rest of it on this thin yarn, thin 4-ply, with relatively small needles. These are 3.5 or 3.75, I think. So not tiny. But it has meant it's been a quite a relaxing knit in terms of just stocking it for miles, as I've told you already. But here we are, last few stitches here. In fact, I think that was supposed to be a decrease round all the way around, but I got talking to you. But I'll do the decreases on the next round. But here we are. It's coming together. That's the front of the colour work, and as you can see, it's just come out lovely, and all the way down to the rest of the body with the rib at the bottom. And here is a completed sleeve all the way down. Now, I found that once I had done all the what do you call those things when you reduce, the decreases all the way down the sleeve, By the time I'd done all the decreases, I got to about here, and I had already got the length that I was looking for. So in order to finish it, I just did a shorter cuff on the end, and Mrs. Clark, having tried it on, completely fine, completely the right length. So I think there was probably another inch or so that they were suggesting for the cuff, but we've got a shorter cuff because that takes the arm just to the right length. And I have to say, I'm feeling quite, what's the word? Yeah, I'm feeling quite proud of it actually. It's been a long journey, but I really like it. And then in the back there, as I've shown you before, you can see the short rows, and a few little, once it's blocked in the back there's a little bit of a pucker there, but I think that will flatten itself out. That's the beginning of the round at the back there on the colour work. I think that will sort of stretch itself once we get going with it. So really proud of this, and I've already established with Mrs. Clark that once it's finished that she will have to wear it every single day for the rest of her life, and she's quite prepared and willing for that to be the case. But yeah, and here I am with my little crossing off the rows. You see that should have been a decrease row there. Number 6 means decrease, but I forgot to do that. But what I'll do is I won't panic. I will just do the decreases on the next row whilst I'm chatting away to you. So just remind me to do the decreases, okay? So I have to knit 1 and then knit 2 together. Do the rest of the sleeve, and then slip, knit through the back stitch, and then knit 1 when you get to the last 3 stitches. It's a fairly simple process. So there we are. I'll talk it through. Knit 1, knit 2 together, and then just keep knitting. I don't really think that one row makes much of a difference when you're doing the decreases. If you haven't remembered, I don't tend to fuss too much about that. I don't think you'd really notice. I mean, certainly with those kind of mistakes, as long as you're sort of getting to the right place where you want to go with the number of stitches, I think it's okay. I mean, let's not panic and sweat this stuff. I know some people are, very particular about these things. And truth be told, I probably can be quite a particular person with some things, or some things I just can't be bothered. But I usually am reasonably particular with my work and various things. But with this, it's like, it's going to work out okay. And I guess you get to know that after time, don't you? You get to know that if you haven't done it this time round, you can do it next time round, and it won't make a huge amount of difference. Now, there might be someone sitting there saying, well, I can tell you what difference it will make. Well, please do tell me, because, it'd be useful to know. But I, in my thinking, it's not going to make much difference. So yeah, I'm managing to get some knitting done, which is good because, as I've said probably before, I know that I'm far too busy if I don't have time to do my knitting. And so when I notice that I haven't got knitting time, it's an indication for me to stop and to consider, to rearrange my priorities a little bit and make sure not just that there's time for knitting, but actually that there's time for rest and relaxation, because one of the things that knitting does is it slows down. It slows down my thinking, it slows down my busyness, it slows down my need to be the saviour of the world. That's not my job. Just to remind myself that the world turns on, it keeps on going without Andrew Clark in it. And so it's a really good discipline. So I think I will probably get finished on this sleeve this week. This is Tuesday, and tomorrow is my knit and leather group, as I've told you about before. So I'll have a couple of hours tomorrow afternoon down in the craft shop in Whiting Bay, where we go and sit for a couple of hours and chat, catch up. I'm not the only gentleman there. There's another gentleman who joins with us there, and some of the ladies from the group have been hearing about this little podcast, and some of them have popped in. So if you're watching, hello, and I'll see you tomorrow. So yeah, I think with a little bit of knitting today and then a good couple of hours knitting tomorrow afternoon, I'll be well on with getting this sleeve done. And the plan is, although Mrs. Clark knows about this jumper, the plan is that it will be wrapped up and gifted at Christmas, because that's, you know, that's a nice thing to do. And it's nice to be able to give a lovely handmade gift to your nearest and dearest at Christmas time. And of course, she has been trying it on, because the last thing you want to do is knit something like this without any sense that you're on the right track. So I was very pleased. I mean, she didn't try it on until well into the making of the first sleeve, and it was really the sleeve that I was more concerned about. I could see that the yoke and the body was all, you know, proportionate. And it was really the sleeves I wanted to test out, just to make sure that I didn't have a lovely jumper but with sleeves that were then too short. So we cautiously got Mrs. C to try it on once the sleeves were down near the end, before I put the what do you call it. Now here we are coming up to the decrease here. So it's a slip, knit through the back, oops, knit through the back. Don't want to get 3 stitches in, and then just pull those off, and then the last little stitch there. So yeah, we tried it on when we were just trying to gauge the sleeve length, and that's when I knew that even without the cuff, the sleeves were down to Mrs. C's wrists, and so it was a short cuff that was required. So yeah, I should get finished this week, and then, I mean, goodness knows what's next. Of course, as you know, long-term followers of this little blog here know that I still have the Dustland to finish, and I think I might be at the stage where I feel motivated enough to finish that. And what I have to do with that is 2 sleeves. But remember, these 2 sleeves are in pattern all the way down, so it's not just a quick and easy stockinette thing. I'm feeling more positive about that, because some of the lovely ladies who came to Sanic Stitches knitting retreat here in the Isle of Arran with us a few months ago reassured me that they thought that the length of the sweater, which I felt was a little bit too long, they thought it was okay. So I'm trusting their judgment. And so if I end up wandering around the Isle of Arran with a sweater that's far too long, it's not my fault. It's the advice of some of you lovely watchers and listeners who said to me it was fine. But I'm sure it is. I'm sure you're right. And it's good to have somebody else's opinion, because otherwise you just panic, don't you? So I have to go back and do the sleeves on that. And that might be timed very well, because by the time I've done this, we'll be getting into December. And also, in between Christmas and New Year tends to be a time where I've got a little bit more time, although I'm not technically on holiday. The reality is that no one in particular is looking for you to be doing very much in that little period of time. So it tends to be family time, it tends to be catching up time, it tends to be resting time, because there's always a few extra hours of work during December. So that little week at the end of the year is just a chance to chill out, enjoy the family, and just do those kind of Christmassy things. So for this Christmas, I have my daughter Katie coming home, who you've seen on this channel before. She's coming home from her first what do you call it, term at university, and she's coming with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend is coming up from down south, so he'll be coming along. My eldest is coming home for, I don't know for how long, but coming home to spend Christmas with us. And then I have my youngest daughter, Lucy, and then I have my mother-in-law, who of course lives here on the island with us. And because we're in a sort of state of still packing and moving and sorting out, what we've decided to do is that we are going to go up to Sannox. That's the retreat centre that I'm involved in running. It's empty between Christmas and New Year, so we're going to go over there for Christmas Eve and for Christmas Day, and then go home on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. Do you all call it Boxing Day? I know some of you will probably call it different things, but here in the UK, the day after Christmas, the 26th of December, is called Boxing Day. Some of you might call it St. Stephen's Day, because that's when that is, but I don't know what you call it. Tell me what you call it down in the comments there. I'm interested to hear that. So we're up there for a few days. We're not in a terrible state here in this house yet, because the building works are still going on, and the signs are from our lovely builder is that he may have another couple of weeks to go, so perhaps mid-December he'll be done his work there. But at that stage in December, we're not going to be rushing to get everything packed and move house before Christmas. So if he's done, that's fine. That's fine. We intend that the process of moving out of this lovely house into our new lovely house will be nice and gentle and slow-paced. We don't have any big removal companies here on the island, so the vast majority of stuff will be moved carload by carload by ourselves, and I'm sure there are some friends around who have got things like trailers, and there's a van hire company that we can hire a small van to take some of the larger things over. But other than that, we'll mainly be doing most of it ourselves. And as I say, there's no real rush. The Church of Scotland, who own this particular property, have been very kind and very generous to us. They're not chasing us out. But they are in the process of selling this place, as I've probably told you before, and we've had the estate agent round and all that sort of thing. So they're getting ready for all that business of selling this house on, and this will be an absolutely lovely home for somebody when that time comes. So that's the plan. At some point, I will take you back round to our new house and show you the progress, but we're still in the middle of it, really. Where are we at? Our new kitchen is in, and last time I was round, the new bath was in, and they were in the process of doing the drywall sheeting on the bathroom downstairs and the new ensuite upstairs. They've been changing water tanks around to give more, all that sort of stuff. It looked as if they were about to start dealing with the old fireplace, which has been taken out already, and putting the wood burner in. So that's the next big job. And then there's a couple of things like installing the cooker into the new kitchen and the cooker hood above the hob. So that's still to be done, but I imagine they're leaving that till the end. And then there's just a general decor to be done all the way through. And then my cousin's husband runs a flooring company here on the island. So once we get an idea of when the builders are out, it's then time for him to come and put all the flooring down. So we've been and picked the carpets and picked the flooring for the kitchen and the bathrooms and all that sort of thing. They're all ordered in the warehouse, just ready to go in. So that's progress. That's progress, folks. So I'm sure that come January there'll be some moving out and moving in footage, and especially when it comes to setting up the old knitting spot. And where is the chair going to go? I can't see it. You can't see it today. Look, there we are. That's my knitting chair. Look at me in my fancy new gizmo. There we are. And we'll be very glad to be moved. The change does create some new scenarios for the family. It makes Tracy closer to the school that she works in. That's Mrs. Clark. Closer to the school she works in. But for our youngest daughter, who's still at school here on the island, it moves her a village away from the secondary school. But she has lots of friends in the area where we're moving to. So there'll be quite a number of them that catch the school bus in the morning. So not the end of the world at all. And for me, it takes me into Brodick, which is our entry point village where the ferry comes in. and it's where my church is largely located. So it's not a bad move for us, and we're only 5 or 6 miles from where I'm sitting right now. So, in fact, not even that. It's not even that. It would take you 5 minutes to get there. So. Not very far at all. So that's the impending move. That's the update on that. I don't have anything to show you quite yet, but I'm sure that when it comes time to making a proper episode, I'll be able to take you and show you around that process. Now, in other areas of news, it's coming up to that December thing. And last year, I sort of dipped my toes into something of a Vlogmas. Now, when I say something of a Vlogmas, if you were around back then, this time last year, you'll remember that I'm not one of those people who could go around, every single day, videoing bits of life and editing and putting a video up every single day. That's just not going to happen. There's some people that do have time for that, but I don't have time for that. But what I did last year is that I did do a little bit of filming here and there, and I think I put up about 4 Vlogmas videos last year. So one video a week, just to give you a little bit of a taste of what was happening here on the run up to Christmas. So I may do something like that again. I'm also aware that when it comes to that time of year again, not everyone's got time to sit down and watch someone's video every day, even if it's only 10-15 minutes. And whilst I love to watch a good vlog now and again, I don't really have time to do it every single day. So it's trying to get the right balance, isn't it? Now, I'm sure that there are people who have, totally fantastic, interesting lives where you'd want to kind of see what they're doing every moment of every day. But my life is not really like that. And in fact, in lots of ways, although it can be busy, it's quite a slow life. Some of it's quite slow, and one of the many reasons that we chose to relocate to the Isle of Arran for life and for work was really so that we could get just a little taste of a change of pace, a change of life, and that's worked out quite well for us. We were living near London, down in Englandshire, before we moved up here. So that's a considerable change of pace, and it suits me well. So yeah, that's the story. So watch out for the Vlogmas. And I still don't worry. I still haven't forgotten the fact that we are potentially going to do a Sanker patterns knit along. Now, there's been a little bit of a development there because there's somebody reached out to me. I'll tell you who at some point. Somebody reached out. A little pattern designer has reached out and said, "I've just designed these items, which might be good for a Sanker knit along." And so if anything comes of that little collaboration, there'll be a lovely pattern that we can share and have a go at that Sanker knit along. But that's likely to be into the new year, if that's okay. I mean, there's no rush, is it? There's no rush. And you're probably all busy knitting. If you're a gift knitter or whatever it is, you're probably too busy for now. So I'm too busy for now. So we'll get around to that, okay? I was still need to do that because, again, I want to highlight those lovely Sanker patterns. So yeah, I see after knitting this, it has to be the Dustland sweater. And then I still have in mind a good number of patterns that I've been talking about for a good while now, which I want to get round to. And the main one is the Midwinter Blanket by Martin Story. So that is definitely on my list. I think I have enough wool in my stash to be able to do a blanket like that fairly consistently. And if you want to know what that is about, I'll try and just insert a little picture of it here. So you can see it. There you go. It's just made up of little squares with different sort of wintry type patches. And I plan to work on that over the next little while. The benefit being that you're doing square by square by square, and then you add them all together. So you get that little bit of a kick of, is it dopamine you get when you're finished something? And then you can get that multiple times over, of course, because you've got lots of little squares to do. And I guess with that project as well, you can do as many of those squares as you want. So you could do it for a single size bed, a double bed, queen size bed, king size bed, super king size bed. I don't know. Do you guys have those bed sizes where you are? Or is it just us weird constitutional monarchy people that have kings and sizes and queens in our beds? Anyway, yeah, so various sizes of bed. But so yeah, I think regardless of what size of bed you want to make it for, it's just a case of adding more squares, isn't it? So I'll see how I'll get on with that. I mean, it might end up, I might just think it's too labour intensive and think actually a little lap blanket would just do nice and fine. But we'll see. Depends how much I enjoy it and depends how much the yarn will stretch. Having said that, excuse me, I've still got quite a lot of this left because I think I bought another two 200-gram skeins of this, and it would be quite well suited to a blanket. I mean, this I've said this before, but this wool is a little bit on the rustic side, but I think it will soften up nicely, as a jumper, and you'd certainly want to have something on underneath it. Mrs. Clark has already established that, but that's okay. It's still nice. It's still soft enough. But anyway, yes, I've got some of that I could probably use as a base, and I still have some of the colours here, the green and the sort of rusty red, that I could definitely use for some of those patterns on the midwinter blanket, and I'll just see what I've got by way of contrast for that. So that's the plan. That is the actual plan. Dustland and then the midwinter blanket, which I hope I will enjoy. And then beyond that, I don't actually know. Because I say, although I've been knitting on this, I haven't been doing a huge amount of craning my neck at all sorts of different patterns and designs. Probably because I do have those other projects firmly fixed in mind. And after I've done this, I don't have anyone in particular that I want to knit for. So everything's game. And I should just say that in case you're hearing noises in the background, Angus the tortoise is over there and he's a little bit active at the moment. And Dougal the dog is just sitting in front of me, and as I mentioned his name, he just sort of looked up as if to say, what do you want? What do you want? He's over there. It's middle of the day. He's having his afternoon nap. Although he's not particularly enjoying the fact that he can stare through his window at me while I'm sitting here. He's looking a little bit disapproving of the fact that I'm sitting here and he's sat over there. So we'll go outside afterwards to give him a little bit of a treat. So now, exciting island news. We have just been delivered of a new ferry. The MV Glen Sannox is now in the hands of Caledonian Brain, who run our ferry service, and for the next 6 weeks or so, she's doing. The crew have a chance to sail in her for a little bit and get used to all the technicalities and all the practicalities of docking at the various places where the ship will dock, mainly between Brodick here in the Isle of Arran and Trin, which is a little town on the west coast of Scotland, as you would imagine. And that's where the ferry will go, because normally our ferries from here go to Ardrossan, but the new ferry is too large for that port, so we're still waiting to see what happens there. The smaller ships can still go to the other port, so I think we'll still end up having a service to both of those towns. The service to Troon is an extra 15-20 minutes longer, but it's if you've got your car, it's not a huge problem. But anyway, the exciting thing is that we get a brand new ferry, which is slightly overdue and quite considerably overpriced, but she is a lovely ship, and I'm sure the first time I go on the MV Glen Sannox, I will take you, and you can have a little look and see what luxury they're bestowing upon us with this lovely new ship. I think she holds about between 800 and 900 passengers, and over, I don't know, I can't remember the car count, but 140, maybe even more than that, but it's something like that number of vehicles, which will just make a huge difference. It's been quite a challenging year for us here with the old ferries, so that's had a huge impact. But I won't sort of mumble on about that, because you don't necessarily need to hear that. But that's just part of island life, and most people take that in their stride. Although it does get stressy if you have to go for hospital appointments that you can't get to, and treatment, and visiting loved ones who are sick, and all those sorts of life situations that you really want to have a reliable service to go on. So, but as I say, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's the lights of a big ship that we are being gifted. So if you come to us next year to visit, or maybe to come to Sannox Stitches, you may end up being on the MV Glen Sannox, and it will be really worth the sail. Now, on the subject of Sannox Stitches, we have a little bit of a change of programme for next year, because there is a possibility, and at the moment it is just a possibility, that we will be starting some building works at Sannox next year. So the first part of the year, during the first few winter months, is not looking like we will be in the place where we can do Sannox Stitches in March next year like we have been doing. But the hope is still to do a Sannox Stitches retreat on a weekend in September. The plan is to do it on a weekend, a long weekend in September. And it will likely be near the sort of first or second weekend in September, but I'll let you know about that as soon as I can. I would love to encourage you to come and be a part of a Sannox Stitches, and all you out there who have been before and would just love to come back. It would be lovely to see you again too. And so, yeah, so just one Sannox Stitches next year, potentially due to building work. And of course that means that there might be something very interesting to see if you're coming for a second time as we develop work on the site. But those have been lovely retreats that we've run, and I hope that those have have enjoyed those. It's been lovely to meet so many people, and lovely just to come to Arran, enjoy the community here, but also to do a bit of knitting, and to meet some wonderful people from all around the world. I've been truly blown away by all of you who have come from the States, and have come on your way whilst visiting family from like Australia and Italy and even Scotland. Some of you have come from Scotland. So that's been absolutely lovely. But keep an eye out for the dates for Sannox Stitches in 2025, and we'll see how all that goes. Now, the last little word I wanted to have with you, especially for those in the Northern Hemisphere, but really for anyone really, is that certainly up here in the north, we are into the winter, and of course winter means long nights. And I know that there's some people in Europe that have much longer nights than we have. All you Scandinavians, Norway, Sweden, Finland, you have much longer nights than us. All you up there in Iceland and even up there in the Shetlands and the Orkney Islands and the far north of Scotland, you have longer nights than us. But here on Arran, I've really noticed the darkness, mainly because although we have some street lights in our little villages here, by and large the place is dark, and so it gets really dark. And we've just come through, the back end of October and the first couple of weeks in November, we've had this sort of what they call an anticyclonic gloom hanging over. So it's been still, and it hasn't been particularly stormy or wet, but we've had this sort of grey gloom has been hanging over us for a number of weeks. And I'm one of those people that suffers from seasonal affective disorder. You know, once the sunlight disappears, my whole physiology just goes south. I'm like, and so I'm reminded again of all the important things that we need to do at this time of the year. Taking care of our diet, taking care of our rest, trying to get out in the middle part of the day and enjoy what light and sunshine there is, even if it's grey and gloomy, just to build up that light to the back of your eyelids, and get. I mean, you don't get much of that vitamin stuff here most of the year round because it's always pretty dull. But getting a good diet that will give you all the vitamins and healthy bits that you need. And there's still times when you can do all that physical stuff, and you're still just really feeling low. And what I really want to do is to encourage you. If you're in that place, if you're in that low place, to try and reach out to somebody. Try and find someone that you love and that you can trust, and that you can just share a little bit. It makes such a difference if you've got someone you can reach out to. One of the things that we have noticed on the island of recent, that there's been a couple of people who have just gone beyond the point of where they feel that they could reach out, and that's been very sad. And so it's particularly on my mind and on my heart with this little platform I have to remind you that it's okay not to be okay. And if you're in need, reach out to a friend, reach out to a counsellor, reach out to your doctor or a mental health nurse or someone. Take good care of yourselves during this winter season. And as I say that, I will be doing that as well. I had become a little bit neglectful and just sort of went down the tubes a little bit. But after a week or so, I'm back on an even keel, thankfully, and happy to be here chatting away to you and encouraging you, and hopefully lending you some strength to do that for yourselves, especially those of you who are in the winter time. And and I really do hope that there's plenty of things in your life in these next few weeks and months which give you joy, that give you satisfaction, that even give you a sense of cosy, and that you can cuddle up your knitting. The Scandinavians call it hygge, that getting cosy. Here in Scotland, we say curien, and it's just that same sense of curling up against the darkness of the winter, with your favourite beverage and your favourite TV programme. Stick your candles on, get your knitting out, enjoy the company of any loved ones that you have, get your friends round, play with the dog, stroke the cat, I don't know, feed the tortoise, whatever. Just do those nourishing things. Anyway, folks, that's enough from me. I hope that message came through. I just want to encourage you and to build you up as we go into this little winter season. I will be back with something of a Vlogmas during December, so it won't be too long till you hear from me again. And in the meantime, why don't you do that thing that vloggers and YouTubers are always encouraging you to do? If you haven't already done it, like the channel, like this video, subscribe to the channel, put the wee bell thing on, so that, when I do put out these videos now and again, you'll get a wee notification, and then you can catch up with all the latest gossip. Now, I admit, the last part of this year has been slow. It's been a slow knitting life. It's been a slow progress all around. But that's just how life is at times, and that's okay. So do pop down the comments, say hello, and again, tell me what you're knitting on. Any Christmas plans for knitting? Are you gift knitting something at the moment? Do you have any bigger plans for the rest of the winter for those of you who are in the northern hemisphere here? Do let me know down in the comments. But for now, Marsin Leif and Drasta, agus Bianach Jagut. Marsin Leif and Drasta, agus Bianach Jagut. Take care and God bless.